Hey there, welcome to episode 55 of the Quaggling Sand audio program. I am your host, Dan Hugo. It is Wednesday, November 27, 2024. The time is just about 12:30 p.m. on this short week for Thanksgiving. Today's episode, of course, if you've seen the title, Hermitic Holidays, not to be confused with Hermetic. That's different. If you've never heard the Quaggling Sand audio program before, Quaggling Sand is a term I coined when I was very young, a long time ago. You probably refer to that as pins and needles, the return of circulation to probably a limb, maybe a foot or a leg or a hand or an arm that has gone numb from maybe you slept on it or sat on it or whatever it is. So as the circulation and feeling returns, the tingling of quaggling sand, or in this case, a sort of self-indulgent story time, wherein I will share tales, adventures, more likely just regular old stories. And maybe there's something to take from them, who knows? There's something for me in telling them, and maybe they'll be interesting for you listening to them. Hopefully wherever you found this audio program, you're able to locate the show notes. The episode description contains the show notes and there's only two shameless self-promotion links today. No episode-related content to send you off to. I will read you the stuff now so we can wrap it up sooner than later and you can get on with your holiday week. The show notes, the summary. Holidays are, with many exceptions, dates on calendars. That is to say, they're not just dates on calendars. Sometimes there's a religious component, there's a historical, traditional, etc. But holidays are dates on calendars. Some time ago, there was something of an epiphany wherein holidays could be celebrated, even with family and other groups of people, anytime, so long as a consensus might be reached on when and probably where. This makes the standard holiday into a Hermitic holiday. I left the ellipsis in there, but I'll tell you what that was. More on that after we go through very quickly the shameless self-promotion links. There's no obligation to spend any money on either of these. The buymeacoffee.com/DanHugo, DanHugo. Landing page, the profile there has links to my various audio program projects, some GitHub projects, some other stuff that I'm working on. Both Buy Me a Coffee and Ko-fi.com, ko-fi.com/DanHugo. Both Buy Me a Coffee and Ko-fi Coffee are used often by open source project developers or people that are working on crowd-funded, if you like, efforts. It's an opportunity to, one, engage, that is like talk to, communicate, share with people who are in that sort of universe, the universe of sort of participatory consumerism. Hey, I'll listen to your podcast. I've seen some Instagrammers are now resorting to normal business activities, promoting their projects, their maybe their music or their creative works, artwork, and so on. So you can connect with people there. So the people that are of that mindset are already kind of hanging around there. So either way, you can visit. You can see some links. I usually try to update the Buy Me a Coffee profile page, which I use as a link page when it occurs to me. No. I've said this a few times. The editor tools for the profile page are simply awful. So just making it look the way I would like it to look, given the platform and whatnot, kind of a challenge. But that said, I did on Monday this week, episode 1. So of course last week was episode 0 of the Buy Me an Update audio clip. It's under 5 minutes. Both of them, I think, average 5 minutes. My goal is to keep it closer to like 3 minutes. But the idea is it's a micro update. I can move some of the things that I talk about in individual episodes to one place so I don't end up repeating. Well, to me, it's repeating. but I don't end up forgetting to mention in one and mention it in the other and so on. So I'll have the Buy Me an Update on buymeacoffee.com as a brief audio look back and look forward. So check that out, buymeacoffee.com/Dan Hugo. In the posts section, when you visit the Dan Hugo profile page, if you scroll all the way down to the posts, they make it difficult to locate. I also placed some text at the top of the profile page that says, hey, the Buy Me an Update. Click on the post. Anyway, if you find it, great. If not, you're not necessarily missing out. Maybe you are. We'll find out. And of course, like I said, ko-fi.com/Dan Hugo, ko-fi.com/Dan Hugo for other quips, pithy updates. It's almost like a Twitter-ish. I'm going to say Twitter-ish because nothing else is called Twitter anymore. It makes it easy for small, brief updates like that. So I've been sort of leaning that way towards ko-fi.com for micro text updates. They enable audio, but they require a link to a supported content site like YouTube or similar. Buy Me a Coffee, you can actually upload the audio file, so it's a little bit easier. I was considering linking from ko-fi.com to buymeacoffee.com. I don't know what happens when you mix coffees. A blend might work out nicely, or it might taste weird. So we'll see. On that note, let's get started so we can reach the end. First of all, Hermitic. Hermitic what? First things first. What does Hermitic mean? Anyway, well, it's an adjective form of hermit, of course, and as we might know, a hermit is someone who prefers, enjoys, or otherwise seeks out calm, solitude, maybe even isolation from others, probably people, but it could be, everybody. Obviously, one can be hermitic without going all in. Nobody's moving out into the wilderness, writing manifestos or anything. I myself find the hermitic life through the week to be more productive, especially here in Vegas. I don't wander downtown or onto the Strip, of course. Most locals don't hang out on the Strip. But this is a place rife with distraction. Rife with distraction. It's lousy with distraction. How about that? You can definitely not accomplish anything and spend all of your money doing it here in Las Vegas if you really want to. So I could go hang out downtown or elsewhere in the greater Vegas area, and I had spent time and resources on these pursuits early in my time in Vegas when I first moved here because, hey, Vegas, I'm in Vegas. And then I was, of course, traveling a lot, like over 50, maybe 80% sometimes of a given month was spent elsewhere. So my time in Vegas for a while was essentially my weekends. And so, of course, may as well enjoy Vegas. And there's tons of stuff to do in Vegas. That's a good and bad thing. Because again, you could accomplish nothing and have a nice time doing it. And while some believe that you can partake in some gaming, I'll just play some, no. There's a reason all those casinos and resorts are so big, not by handing out money. But eventually one must realize that unless you are employed within the fun economy, participating in it is fun, but not very economical. The fun economy includes gaming, professional sports, entertainment, conventions, and tourism. So entertainment and gaming. It's funny. Now that I think about it, I gotta make sure my pillars of the fun economy are correct, because hospitality is sort of left out. But hospitality, if you include service industry, that is the restaurant, bar, beverage, all the sort of, yeah. So anyway, you get the idea. A hermitic holiday, then, is a holiday spent away from others. And if we look at the calendar and choose the usual days here and there, we can almost claim some free play days, if you will, where most people will be celebrating the holiday, like no calls, no emails. And most of the places one might wish to go are closed or on holiday hours. So it kind of imposes upon one partaking in a hermitic holiday to focus on getting stuff done, or perhaps even getting nothing done, but doing so quietly and much more economically than dropping money in a Las Vegas casino, for example. By the way, since I've lived here, I want to say that put a $20 bill in a gaming machine one time because my friend was at work and I was killing time. And I think I put $2 into one slot machine at the El Cortez when I was waiting for someone to come down from their room when they were staying there. And I ended up winning. Did I win? Maybe I put $1 in and I got $1.50 or $1.75. Anyway, that's about how much gambling I do here in Vegas. Once you understand math, it just doesn't make sense. And by the way, if you're wondering, Hermitic, isn't that the same thing? Hermitic. The difference is in that first I or the second E in Hermitic. Hermitic. Hermitic, like a hermit, like keeping to yourself. Hermetic, like airtight, sealed, hermetically sealed containers. Don't let anything in or out, etc. So there is a difference. Hermitic, but not hermetic. So why are we here? And by the way, this is not a bad thing. It's merely a realignment of calendars and planning. And once this becomes, as your family members become more established and have a certain amount of flexibility and whatnot, or at some point, maybe just somebody says, I'm tired of being full, of overeating and having then to travel through holiday chaos to return home and so on. Why do that all on the same weekend everyone else is doing it? So it becomes fairly practical fairly quickly. So how did I get here? As with many other learnings, this came from Harvey Mudd College, where classes would begin on the Thursday before Labor Day, the Labor Day weekend, and to provide a little shock, like, whoa, Thursday morning, I'm in school. I'm going to college. And this of all classes, but of course the first year there, it's very exciting. A little shock, and then an immediate respite to the incoming students. So everybody gets the Labor Day weekend, of course, obviously, but it seems unusual at the time. But then, a couple months in, you're like, yeah, that does make sense. An immediate 3-day weekend. A bonus nondescript 3-day weekend in October. I cannot remember what that was called. It was something like the spring weekend or something like that. Not spring. Fall break, something like that. It was not spring. And then Thanksgiving in November, of course, a long weekend during which most were almost certainly going to be headed back home. So at the time, my entering class that I was in, 151 students. I think the total campus population was about 600. So probably, over 500 of the people were gone, as they were expected to be. It occurred to me at some point that I could get some stuff done and avoid the holiday rush out of and back to lovely Claremont, California, if I stayed on campus. I could catch up on the piles of work we always had at Mudd, and I could enjoy some peace and quiet with the population on campus drastically reduced. I don't even know if it was 100. It might have been 10 people on campus. Who knows? The reason you stayed on campus was to not go wandering around yelling, hey, I'm here. So and I cannot for the life of me remember if this was my sophomore, my second year, or my third year. I want to say it was my second year. So, yeah, plus the winter break, the semester break, which aligns with Christmas, of course, because this is the United States. But your winter holidays would essentially have an associated month off between semesters, so it wasn't a big deal to pitch this to hey, you know what? I could travel for the 4 days, whatever trouble and hassle and hectic, or I can just come home for the semester break, and we'll just do the same thing. And when you really think about it, you're, that is fine. Why not? I mean, sure. While there was some consternation initially. Of course, there is the tradition that backs the coming home for Thanksgiving and family gathering and stuff. My family was particularly into mass quantities of food preparation. This was probably the fault of my mother's mother, my grandmother on my mother's side, if you like. A tradition of just over-preparing massive meals. There was no, where's the turkey? Oh, it's tucked in between the ham and the stuffed shells and the lasagna. And the stuffed mashed potato. There's just a tremendous amount of food. The dining room table that could be expanded to fit more stuffed people, etc. So there was this tradition. So like, what's going to happen if you don't come home? There has to be eating of mass quantities of food. I would not be home for Thanksgiving in what had been traditionally food-heavy family gathering, as I just described, where preparations were as storied and important as was the get-together itself. How many times did we hear, we used to get up the day before and start cooking the sauce, and the cooking and of course, the competitive nature, whose sauce is better, whatever. Preparations were storied, and they certainly were, and then the aftermath. You got to leave with leftovers, of course, and despite leaving with leftovers, there's still enough food for 25 people to eat for a month, enjoying them for days after. All of this was removed from the list of imperatives when we all realized that the calendar doesn't need to dictate such things. You don't need to, and here, I'll give you another example, which is a little bit more practical day to day. I'm going to fix my notes there for a second. When you haven't talked to someone in a while, you haven't reached out to a friend or family or whoever it is, and then you get a reminder from probably on your phone nowadays, but that's right, their birthday is tomorrow. Or even worse, there is a holiday tomorrow. Allow me to send them a text message. Hey, happy, birthday, holiday, whatever it is. So what you're saying is, I could contact you anytime I want. I could reach out anytime I want. I could ask you how you're doing anytime, any day, doesn't matter. We have the technology now. You don't have to put a stamp. You don't have to wait for days. Instantaneous contact. The faux sense of connection that comes with that. And yet, I used to know many people who would quite literally check the calendar to see if they should bother with some contact. So I don't really, I would never reply to those. To me, if you want to contact someone, you can do it. If you want to get somebody a gift, if you want to have a family meeting or family gathering with a meal, you can, send out for pizza. If you have your own Thanksgiving, whenever you want, you can order a pizza. You don't have to wade through turkeys everywhere at your local grocery store. You can get normal things that everybody likes to eat. They cook in normal amounts of time. Everybody can bring a snack, and there's a whole bunch of different ways to do this to keep it more normal and simple. Because after all, what is the focus of these holidays? Is it the commercial, like, you got to buy stuff? You want to get somebody a gift? Get them a gift. Don't look at the calendar first. So now holiday is tradition versus practicality. The takeaway, and the truth since around that time, is that it is possible to have gatherings and get-togethers or speak on the phone or with other more modern technologies or even exchange gifts and whatnot on actual holidays as indicated on a calendar or on any other day of the year. I almost feel like I just finished saying this, but I wrote this part, but I injected my own little ad hoc rant. See, I'm always on the same page as myself. That's always convenient. For some, holidays mean time away from a workplace, time away from school, especially for younger students, and various promotional price schemes to encourage travel and buying of gifts and so on. And so there is a certain machine that is inviting this behavioral alignment. There's the reason they call it Black Friday is because retail establishments especially would hope to make up some money from the rest of the year, which may have been slow. Everyone's going to be shopping on Friday, so it's an opportunity to operate in the black, as they say, no red ink indicating negatives. Finally making money. This kind of stuff makes headlines and, of course, profits for the operators of the machine, hence Black Friday. It's not a conspiracy theory. This is the nature of coordinated marketing messages. If you really want to be sort of not shocked, but kind of an aha moment, look up the history of the Thanksgiving holiday and how it was moved to encourage shopping. Look for FDR, Thanksgiving. Practically, the calendar holidays are like free play days, like I said, where some retail and most government services are shut down. Banks are closed, of course, and those who do work are often poorly compensated for putting up with the holiday consumer with nothing better to do. But for those of us who do have something better to do, the free play days can be invaluable and at the very least remarkably practical. My holiday realizations: eventually the social pressure placed on everyone to cook the turkey and in one sitting stuff the family and friends with more food than they would otherwise eat over the course of many days, all because everybody else is doing it. Because this becomes apparent and, as it turns out, overplayed. It becomes, like I said, it's kind of a point of contention, and that can linger. Like, I didn't get invited to your house, or, we're only having close family, and it becomes tension. It becomes, you didn't prepare the foods I like. I told you I'm allergic to this. I told you I can't eat that. How come you brought an extra person? There's a lot of angst that can surround these traditions. What if, even on the traditional calendar holidays, we just eat normal meals, have relaxing times that are not overly stilted or even tension-filled by some, or for some? Not everybody has the political Thanksgiving, and not face what is projected in the news this year to be a typical 6-pound weight gain. What is that? It's about 3 kilograms, right? Just under 3 kilograms from holiday overeating. Not to mention the occasional discussions of politics, no doubt particularly divisive this year. Who needs that on a particular day? You can do that anytime you want. Over time, by separating from the traditional calendar and from the traditional overcooking and overeating, we all begin to realize, that is, all of us who have kind of broken with these traditions, that doing all these things because of a date on a calendar and the social pressures is a net negative. If you ever find yourself saying, why am I doing all this stuff? Because check the calendar, it's right there. As luck would have it, people in my family have flexible enough schedules so that gatherings, regardless of traditional holidays, are generally easier and generally better. I myself did not go home for Thanksgiving. That's not really obvious, but I am in Vegas this week. A visit to the Arizona area is likely to take place sometime in like week 2 of December. Wait, that's right, between Thanksgiving and, in our case, Christmas. That's right. What better time to embark on travel and whatnot than when nobody else is doing, well, not nobody, but I read some headlines, you'll probably have seen them, that this year Thanksgiving will be record-breaking travel, air, road, and otherwise. Yeah, good times. Again, you can go to your mom's house or your whatever family member is like the sort of home base where everybody heads to, whoever has the biggest dining room table, I suppose. You can do that anytime you want when you really think about it. So if you've ever traveled the world, by the way, some holidays are global, some are not. If you're somewhere else in the world on the 4th of July, then you are there on the day between the 3rd and the 5th of July. That's about it. Maybe if you're in England, there will be a comment or two about the colonies, but for the most part, the domestic holiday traditions here in the U.S. are just normal days elsewhere. So Thanksgiving, American holiday. 4th of July, American holiday. Labor Day, Memorial Day, Veterans Day, memorial holidays. I'm sorry, domestic holidays. Although I believe Veterans Day, since it was Armistice Day, and since there was a tradition in Normandy, for example, I think that one gets out more. But Easter, religious holiday. Christmas, religious holiday. So religious holidays will be somewhat geographically diverse, but also based on populations and where they pursue their beliefs and whatnot. I'm not even getting into various religions and various other holidays that have particular meanings in different geographies, historical, remembering, like President's Day in the U.S., not so many President's Days in other countries. Nobody's enjoying Lincoln's birthday anywhere else. Take, for example, an opportunity I had to depart early for a visit to the Officina Arduino in Turin, Italy. Sometimes written Torino, Turin, Torino, same thing. While I was with Intel, I traveled over there. The management types, the person I worked for directly, and then some of the sales, those people were headed there after Thanksgiving so that we could meet to discuss a product that would eventually become the Arduino 101, the subject of our America's Greatest Makers reality show. Don't worry if you've never heard of it, that's fine. The management types were heading there after Thanksgiving, but I was able to head there the week of Thanksgiving. So I got an extra few days to get to know the Arduino team, to hang out. The team at the time, not everybody's still there. In fact, most are not. I could scope out Turin, wander around a little bit, check it out, learn to enjoy the bicharin, which is a coffee with chocolate, or arguably chocolate with coffee in it. Drinking chocolate, of course. Find an awesome chocolate shop, which I did. There is Gobino if you're a chocolate person, but I found another smaller one that was a couple of blocks away from the Arduino offices. And so as my parting gift after time well spent, I dropped off a ton of chocolate from this other place. And I believe it was Odila. And it was good. When I went into the chocolate shop the third time, whichever it was, to get the actual chocolate to drop off with my Arduino hosts, the proprietor with whom I had had conversations in my 2 previous visits was not there, and so his mom was working. Luckily, she was there one of the other times. So when I walked in, she said, "Oh, Dan from Vegas," and that's all the English she had. So we negotiated a chocolate purchase with me pointing, and a lot of chocolate was had by all. And who doesn't want to be in Italy for Thanksgiving anyway, right? So it was a good time. But because I was completely unpressured about what to do on Thanksgiving, it worked out quite well, I think. On one occasion, I was able to be in Dublin, Ireland, on St. Patrick's Day. Yes, it's true. And I have to say, while Vegas turns into a sort of a chaotic crowd of drinking beverages, green and otherwise, it's a bit chaotic, to say the least. I'll say it twice even. Right there in Dublin, I mean, I was actually on Dawson, but you're basically in downtown. You're not far from the Temple Bar, which is kind of the touristy area. I was not far from Stephen's Green. I'm not far from Trinity, so I'm kind of right in the scene where the college age and tourism and whatnot is going on. A very calm night. It was a calm day and then a calm evening. A dignified acknowledgement without the mess. There wasn't a Vegas-like celebration of what is just for the most part, from what I learned there, it's a pretty normal day. It's not the day that it becomes a day of sales and overindulging. Speaking of Vegas, Vegas, the destination city. And by the way, it's a region. If you hang out on the Strip, you are not in Las Vegas. Most people don't have any idea. The Welcome to Las Vegas sign near the airport, not in Las Vegas. The airport, not in Las Vegas. There is a movement afoot to rename Clark County to Vegas County, I think. So that, I don't know if it would be Las Vegas County or just Vegas. Probably Las Vegas County. Then you can say you're in Las Vegas, even if you're not. We're known for various celebrations and events and crowds, of course, with something to do for all of the calendared days, holidays or otherwise. Fireworks are a must for some of them. We are known for having a rather substantial 4th of July fireworks show, but fireworks go off here for a lot of things. There are parties, there are special discounts on things, and a general sense that the party is here. Fun economy. My first New Year's Eve, when I moved here in 2013, I moved to Vegas in August, technically July. No, yeah, July. July of 2013, kind of late July. I headed downtown to check out the scene, and I believe I may have been the only customer at the Boozery, which is now present-day Oak and Ivy, in the Container Park. The Container Park had just opened prior, so I think their plan was to kind of have it ready to go for the big New Year's Eve downtown celebration. While not completely empty, all of downtown did not seem to be aware of this intent to celebrate. So it was pretty calm. So I was kind of wandering around. It was interesting to meet some of the people that were working for New Year's Eve. So for what that was worth. But things most definitely came around downtown during some fairly formative years after. Now New Year's Eve in downtown Vegas is total chaos. Generally speaking, I like to avoid the big gatherings. Of course, after the awful, horrible shooting a few years ago, the Vegas Strong outcome, right after there were National Guard, like the New Year's Eve after that, it took place in October. Right after that, there were National Guard soldiers with weapons slung, but armed, with Humvees and other vehicles cruising on the streets and whatnot, a general military presence. They were hanging out downtown for New Year's. There were restrictions on what no backpacks, of course, no carrying of glass containers, which is normal. But I don't think they even wanted to go containers of any kind. So just eyes forward, don't speak. It was fairly, I'm not going to say draconian, but it was tense. It was a tense time. So yeah, weapons slung and there was all that. Then there was the tension in the air. To be honest, it was possible to go just about anywhere, or it is possible. It was then, it is now, to go just about anywhere in Vegas on any day, and not have to deal with most of this stuff. So the need to be surrounded by unruly crowds is not strong enough for me, and for others perhaps, to draw me in recent years. Yes, post-pandemic is something, we all got used to general quiet, fewer crowds, smaller gatherings, and so on. So yeah, that was a sort of that's right, I don't have to go downtown to have dinner, or you can live your life in Las Vegas without being so obviously in Las Vegas. And as I always tell people, I still live not too far from a school. I walk across the street to the local awful Kroger Smith's Food and Drug grocery store. I can pretty much walk around town like I live in a normal place. So I can see Las Vegas in the distance, about 12 miles away, 12 to 15, depending on where you're going. So the Strip, the downtown, all that, you can see it on the horizon. So there's really nothing that says, okay, got to check the calendar. Oh, today's the day I must go today. So I've kind of put all that aside, and that generally speaking, any day on the calendar could and should be treated just about the same as any other. And that's what I've come away with. And so once you stop feeling that pressure about like, oh, I have to fit it in on Wednesday night. Oh, my flight's going to be late. Now it screws up the preparations because there's no real need for that. So all that said, regardless of where you are or what you're doing, and same goes for all those around you, happy Thanksgiving, of course. I'm not anti-Thanksgiving. I'm just anti being pressured about it. And the same goes for the usual winter holidays and the end of the calendar year and the beginning of the next, and then the rest of the holidays throughout. Stay safe out there, and we'll pick it up on the other side of your long holiday weekend. If you did listen to this prior to Thanksgiving, or maybe after, that's fine. But yeah, just remember the days on a calendar, they may have a significance to you. I'm in no way suggesting that days, events, memories, traditions should not be important, but they should not be important because they are days on the calendar, right? They may have significance to you, your family, your friends, your colleagues. That's different. But if you are really just looking for like, what's the Memorial Day sale? Am I going to be buying a mattress? Am I going to be encountering a lot of people wearing flags as clothing, which technically you're not really supposed to do, but who cares, right? So most holidays have become retail promotional events anyway. I know that's cynical, but think about it. I'm not wrong. So if you can remove the pressure, if any, around calendar holidays and look back to the, if it's really about getting together or having a meal with, family, friends, and others. Yeah. And I'll tell you, I'll end on my most cynical take, though. I do have a cynical take. There are, I don't mean to get overly, it's not really conspiratorial, but when you think about it, there are people that are hungry, that are homeless 365 days a year. But for some reason, there's a program, for example, called Gobble Gobble Give. I'm not throwing them under the bus or anything. They do a nice thing. Food drive, clothing, toiletry items, and they put together a thing for Thanksgiving. But no other days, just for Thanksgiving. And I have to, so because production by street, Nobody should be hungry on Thanksgiving. Well, that's good. If you ask, I'm sure the answer would be I would like to not be hungry on other days also. So the holiday on the calendar does place like undue value on being generous or acknowledging these circumstances just one day a year. In my travels, I've worked for charity organizations that provide services to people when I was in Silicon Valley. Believe it or not, like 30% of the population of the Sunnyvale, where I used to live, was not doing well. Not everybody was working at a FANG company back then. Go figure. So those efforts were ongoing all the time. So I think using holidays as a time to think of others is a nice sentiment. But there are 360 other days besides these holidays you're thinking of. So yeah, I'm actually kind of anti that, and not the outcome, but the way that it is portrayed as, nobody should go hungry on Thanksgiving, and then there should be, or other days, like all of the other days. But we have a ways to go. So go and celebrate Thanksgiving. And when you're throwing away that food, projected to be something like 300 million pounds of food will be wasted this year. Think about that. And I'll leave you on that note. We'll catch you next week. Cheers.